Hey, what's up, card fighters? So a little bit of a channel update with this deck profile here on the types of videos that we're going to be having on the channel currently. So right now I am in preparation for BCS Houston, and yeah, I already have like everything's already set up for me to go to BCS Houston, except for what deck I'm going to play, how I'm going to play it, what I expect to see, what I don't expect to see. So I'm kind of like in grinding mode right now. So I won't necessarily be able to give you guys like the plethora of card fighting videos that I normally give you. I'm going to try to do what I've been thinking. It just popped into my head. What I'm going to try to do is at locals, I'll try to play decks that I think I'll see at BCS Houston, and then you guys can see that and how I navigate playing that. But yeah, for the most part, I do want to keep what I am playing under wraps. But I'll let you guys in on a secret. It's most likely a very not so well kept secret. It's most likely a Darkseid's deck. But yeah, if anything, I'll try to just like go through local VODs, and instead of putting out the VODs, I'll just like try to pick out the best matches and commentate on those and my thoughts on those. But anyways, on to the Omni Gruia deck profile. Now this is a deck that's being claimed right now, at least from the polls that I've seen on the Darkseid's Facebook group, and what I've seen from my own personal channel poll is a lot of people are in favor of this deck being the best Darkseid's deck, and I put this deck through the fire. Like, this is the deck that I've tested the most in the past 4 or 5 days. But yeah, it is a good deck. It is like strong, but it isn't the strongest, and I wouldn't say that it's the strongest Darkseid deck either. So yeah, let's just get into the profile and go into more over why that is. So you're going to play the straight up Omni Gruia ride line. You do want to max out on your Omni Gruia grade 3s, because your grade 1 of the ride line does search it off top 5, and Omni Gruia does search your grade 3s off top 5 as well. So speaking of grade 3s, I'm going to go over the main engine cards of this deck first. So we're playing 3 main deck Omni Gruia, 3 mask. I did try 4 masks just so I could have a more consistent search target, but it just felt too cloggy, and at the end of the day, a mask is not a unit card, and sometimes I just need to throw a unit card down on the board. And then 4 of Omni Gruia mask. Now in this deck, I am going to go over, I'm not done going over the engine pieces, but in this deck, it is very important that you do Persona Ride. Persona Ride is where most of your power is coming from, especially since your Vanguard outside of Persona Ride is just swinging for 13, 21 with an 8k booster at most. It's just very important that you do Persona Ride so you can hit those key numbers and take advantage of the fact that you are minusing all your opponent's triggers by 5 and shutting off their defensive capabilities. You don't shut off the trigger effect, which like I'm just like, damn, bro, like the heal still goes off. And I understand if it did shut off the trigger effect, it would be broken, but the trigger effect still applies. The only thing that doesn't apply is the power of the trigger. 4 copies of Misery Ring. This is your draw engine / beat stick of the deck. If you're able to get, let's see here, you have the over trigger, draw trigger, crit trigger, front trigger, heal trigger. So if you're able to get all 5 of those triggers, he's going to get a 25k buff by himself, so he'll be 35 by himself outside of Persona Ride. So he's just your main beat stick of the deck. And then 4 copies. This is the end of your engine. Omni Gruia does like eat up a lot of deck space, which is kind of sad, but you know, it is what it is. 4 copies of Rune Collector. Rune Collector is just a very important piece of this deck, is because when it's put into Soul for your Omni Gruia Vanguard's effect, it counts as being Soul 2 rear guards instead of 1. So instead of like soul charging 2 rear guards in the back row to stand up Omni Gruia mask, you're only soul charging 1 with Rune Collector. So yeah, that is your main engine pieces of the deck. And yeah, that's like, you have space. Essentially, I've had space for like, let's see, this is like an 8 card flex spot. We do get a new grade 2 in set 13, which I actually did see a recent JP list. It was part of my inspiration for this deck was I looked at a bunch of different JP lists like almost all of the Omni Gruia decks were different, which is weird because it just showed me like, okay, so this deck isn't necessarily solved, and it has like has quite a bit of room for you to placate it however you want. So yeah, we're gonna get into the non-engine right now. A very important non-engine for the deck is 4 copies of Causality Dragon. Now you guys remember Causality Dragon from my ooh, that's a little bit off camera. That's a little bit off camera. Let me just put you here. So you guys remember Causality Dragon from my 5 deck profile? Well, Causality Dragon actually works better in conjunction with Omni Gruia than Favrenio, for the simple reason of Causality Dragon's first continuous effect on Rearguard Circle / Guardian Circle, that when your opponent checks a trigger, it doesn't check if your opponent got the power from that trigger or not. It's just checking if your opponent checked the trigger, whether offensively or defensively. So that means you're able to shut off their defensive trigger power while giving your Causality Dragons on board plus 10k power. And that just felt really strong to me personally. Also, his Guard Restrict can come up. Usually, if you do have the Overtrigger in the drop zone, you want to bind it off of Omni Gruia's effect, just in case, you know, if they do damage check the Overtrigger, you could just shut that down as a, you know, an option for them to just negate your whole entire turn. And then we have this 2-of slot. I'm playing Steam Engineer Pepe. Now, what Pepe does is, this is a really broken, this is a, hold on, let me put this right here. This is a really broken, like early, or like, this is like set 2. This is a really broken set 2 Dark States card. What its effect is, if you Persona Road this turn, when it boosts a rear guard, counterblast 1, soul blast 1, and your opponent cannot call grade 1 or greater unit, grade 1 or greater, is it units or cards? Hold on. Cards from hand to guard. So they can't call grade 1 or greater cards, so that just shuts down perfect guards and everything above for that rear guard attack. I was trying to play more, but they did kind of clog, so 2 just felt like the really good sweet spot for the deck, and this is the main reason why, like, Persona Ride is just so crucial for the Omni Gruia deck, is because you setting up a Pepe is able, that you're able to just baby negate their perfect guards, and usually your Vanguard's the weakest attack, so you're forcing them to use their PGs on the weakest attack, which is your Vanguard, more often than not. Then I have this other 2-of slot, which I'm playing one of the cat. I don't really play it for the counter charge, although the counter charge can come up. The only thing that counterblasts in this deck is your Omni Gruia Mask and Pepe. I was trying the grade 2 Dragon Tree guy. I was trying the grade 1 Dragon Tree guy. That card was kind of dope, and it was working well for me, like, for a while, because he would Soul Blast 2, call out a Rune Collector, and yeah, it was working wonders. But I just opted for a different route, because this just felt better than just the consistency of the Dragon Tree cards. I feel like my consistency of getting my main engine is good enough with grade 3 Omni Gruia's effect and just naturally drawing into the mask, that I don't need the extra Dragon Tree cards, and I'm not really missing the Dragon Tree markers as well. So this is more of just like a 1-of counter charger or a 1-of 20k shield that I was just able to, like, slot in the deck. This can technically be anything. It can be another Pepe, it can be another mask, it can be whatever you want it to be. And then the last card that I am playing in the main deck would be 1 Chalice. Now, the reason that I am playing 1 Chalice is because, like I said, like, Persona Riding in this deck is just very crucial, and you just want to really make sure that you're able to Persona Ride every turn, especially if you go second. You really do want to Persona Ride on turn 3, and then, because you, more often than not, unless you get lucky with triggers, you're not killing on turn 3. So you want to make sure that you're able to push on turn 3, and then follow up that push with a turn 4 kill, which you need Persona Ride to, like, basically not guarantee it, but to solidify that turn 4 is your kill turn. Because more often than not, that is when your kill turn happens, is because that's when you'll be able to get 3 or 4 triggers in the bind zone to get the max value off of Omni Gruia Mask's effects. On to the rest of the deck. Not really much to say here. 4 DPGs. One of this can be a Blitzorder PG if you really wanted it to. I'm just, like, kind of taking in the same sentiment as Greedon, because Omni Gruia needs to suck up 2 rear guards. One if you have Rune Collector, but it needs to suck up 2 rear guards. And the Blitz PG at the end of the day isn't a rear guard, and you see that we're already running 4 cards that, you know, are order cards. So it's just, you know, it's better. And I feel like Stride deck sets aren't that prevalent right now, so I feel like you can get away with it. One of the Dark States OT. The Dark States OT is just really good in this deck. Just making your Vanguard like a restand with crit. Like, you know, it's the same reason why Dark States OT gets played in Favernio. Same reason why Dark States OT gets played in Greedon. A restanding Vanguard with crit seems pretty good to me. Really not much to say there. One of not grade 4. One front. Now the reason that we're only playing one front here is because this front is the front you're gonna search off of your grade 2 of the ride line that you're gonna put it to soul for its ride line effect to let you draw a card. So that's why we're playing the one front, and so that we'll always have a front trigger to bind. Because I don't know if it's just my locals, but I know quite a few decks, especially quite a few tier 1 decks, are playing fronts over draws just because they don't need the draws. If they played the draws, they would deck out. 2 draws. The draw power in this deck, if you don't see Misery Wing, there really isn't any draw power in this deck outside of just Persona riding and cycling a card essentially. So the draws do help, even though like when I do hit a draw, sometimes I do wish it was a front. But yeah, you just kind of like need to run some similarity of rainbow triggers, and this is the best way for me to personally do it without like ruining, I guess, my trigger consistency. I'd say would be the best way to put it. But 4 regular heals, nothing much to talk about here. 4 regular crits, and then 4 more regular crits. I haven't found that I need the Into Soul crit in this deck. You really don't have an issue with Soul. The only things that Soul Blast is OG Omni Gruia and Misery Wing. So you don't, and Pepe. Pepe Soul Blast too, but you don't really have an issue with Soul. Usually, like, you have more than enough Soul to get all your effects off without a problem. But yeah, this is the way I'm currently doing the trigger lineup. The only thing I could think of differently doing is maybe in the future, if more draws are being played, is to put 1 draw and then 2 fronts, so I could like just max out on like the shield value, and checking a front offensively in this version of the deck is very good. But I don't know. Let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. And something that I actually do want to incorporate in more of my deck profiles is I want to go over not necessarily like a test hand or like well, I guess it would be considered like a little bit of a dry run of how this deck works and how do you want to play it. But you need to shuffle it up a little bit. We'll just put that there. As for my personal reason why Omni Gruia doesn't feel like the best Dark States deck right now in set 12 meta is it feels like you could do. So the reason I don't think it's the best Dark States deck right now is because it has to compete against what I believe are pinnacles of Dark States right now, which is Chaos and Greedon. Chaos can ultimately just do more than Omni Gruia and set up a better kill turn, while Greedon can essentially just do more with less and set up just as good as a kill turn versus Omni Gruia, but with less resources, I would say personally. I don't know if Greedon is better or Chaos is better. There's merits for both, but I would say those are like the top 2 echelons of and of course Jet. Jet is still up there. I don't think Jet's unplayable right now. I just think this is a very aggressive format, and you're not really gonna get to where you want to get to with Jet, which Jet wants to get to the mid game, like slash to the long game, because that's when it's gonna start get its like plus 15, plus 20 to the front row off of its G zone. Just want to shuffle this up a little bit, guys. You could fast forward through this. I know this is in order, so I do apologize for that. I just wanted to go over how I would, a brief little dry run of how I would play this deck, or how you would want to play this deck. What's the time? We got 15? Yeah, we got good time. We're good time. We're good time. We're Gucci. We're Gucci. Alright, so I gotta do this where it makes sense if you guys are looking at it. So, let's do it like this. Put the deck here. Alright. So we're gonna draw our opening hand. And so we're gonna put those 4 triggers on the bottom. Hopefully we shuffled up the deck good enough that the next 4 cards we draw aren't triggers. But alright, so we have a Misery Wing, we have a Ruin Collector, have the OT, which is not necessarily bad because we can shut off our opponent's OT, and we drew a crit. Okay, so the only thing that we're missing from this hand is Mask, so that we can guarantee Superior Ride. So let's say for this matchup we're going second. So I could show you guys a Superior Ride Persona Ride. I do believe if you're going first with this deck, you still want to okay, we drew another Misery Ring, Gucci. You still want to Superior Ride. Sometimes it's good to hold it, but if you could just push your opponent with a Restaining Vanguard while they're still at 2, that's really it's really good as well. So we're gonna pitch the crit to ride here, and then we're gonna activate Omni Gruia's effect. I'm gonna Soul Blast 1, look at top 5 for an Omni Gruia. We got the grade 3, which is perfect pitch fodder for next turn. Oh, I forgot to draw for going second. Okay, so this is just going to be a going first test hand. That's on me. If anything, this will be better because this will just show you guys how to navigate going first with this deck. So, you know, let's say our opponent rides up, they draw, they swing with their Vanguard. We get a heal trigger here, so power. So even if they did have another rear guard, it wouldn't hit. Let's say if they didn't hit a trigger here. So we'll just pass our turn over. We're going to draw into a Causality Dragon. The best card to pitch here is because you want all of these cards. You want to pitch the regular Omni Gruia. They're going to ride Omnia Owl, and we're going to get our front trigger here off of Omnia Owl. Now, an important note about this part of the ride line is if you feel like your opponent doesn't play front triggers, like if you've seen a draw trigger, if they're playing draws, you could use logic to dictate that they're most likely not playing draws and fronts, so you could get a draw trigger off of this ability. But I find more often now in this format, people are running fronts instead of draws. So we're going to put it into Soul, and since we put a trigger into Soul, we're going to get a draw here. We draw into a crit. That's okay. Now, what I like to do here is if you know your opponent doesn't have access to retire on turn 2, you're going to commit the Ruin Collector behind your Vanguard so you can guarantee a point of damage here. So we're going to swing for 18. Well, a 15 would be no pass here. Not no pass. A 15 would be 1 to pass. So like more often than not, they're not going to guard this swing. So you could more or less just guarantee a good point of damage here. We're going to drive check. We get a crit here. So that's guaranteed 2 damage on our opponent. And then we're just going to pass. They're going to swing. We're going to damage check. We get a Causality Dragon. Let's say they swing at us twice. And we get an Omni Gruia in the damage zone, and then pass turn. So we're going to stand and draw here. Perfect pitch fodder. Yeah, you could pitch a 15K here if you wanted to just try and go for the Superior Ride again, but obviously we're missing a very important piece here, and we're hoping that we're going to get it off of this top 5, is the Mask. No. So we do hit Omni Gruia Mask, but we're still missing the Mask, which is a very important piece of the puzzle here, considering without being able to Superior Ride here, the Mask is... Without being able to Superior Ride with the Mask here, we're not able to get 2 triggers in the bind, so we're not able to just draw off of our Misery Wings And we're just kind of like we're in a tough little spot here, considering all three of our masks are still in deck. So in this case, so let's say we were logical people and we didn't think we were going to hit the mask off of this skill. So what a logical person would do is would keep this in hand and probably, we're at 3 damage. I don't think we can get away with like pitching a 15. I think we can get away with pitching. We just added this, so we don't know if we're going to get it or not. So I think we have no choice but to pitch a Misery Wing here. And then we're going to activate his effect. We're going to Soul Blast 1 here. Bind a crit. The reason you want to... The crit is the trigger I always like to bind first, is because it's the trigger that they're most likely to hit defensively. But, yeah, we don't really have much to do here. You can commit the second Omni Gruia if you really wanted to. What I'm going to do here is I'm just going to commit a Causality Dragon, and if we hit a Perfect Guard, the second Omni Gruia mask in hand is good Perfect Guard bait. So what we're just going to do here is, this is not the best turn 3, but you know, it's more or less working with what we have. We've turned off their defensive criticals, and that's like the most we could do right now. So this is just 21 at the Vanguard. It is a magic number, so they're most likely going to no-guard it. Get a Causality Dragon, and we do get another crit trigger here. So Causality Dragon is going to get the power and give the crit to Vanguard. And let's say they hit a defensive trigger. It doesn't necessarily have to be a crit, but they hit a defensive trigger. So now Causality Dragon is going to be swinging for 33, and we pass turn. That's all we could do here. So they swing. Let's say we take it. Power. They're probably at more damage than us at this point. So let's say we don't heal off of that heal trigger. We use this to guard. And we probably guard with this and this. If they hit an offensive trigger, we can guard with this. And let's just go to our turn. So we're going to stand and draw here. And then we're going to Persona Ride. Draw, hoping we get that mask off of the top 5 search, because we are really hurting right now. We got the mask. We are in business. So we got the mask here so that we're able to bind 2. We have the over trigger, so we do want to prioritize the over trigger here. So let's activate the mask. Top 5 search. This is going a little bit slower than anticipated, guys. I do apologize for that. But I did want to show you what generally, I guess up to turn 4, what this deck is planning to do. So we add that to hand. This is what our current hand looks like. Let's use his effect. Bind the over trigger here. And then we're going to use the mask here to Superior Ride. We already Persona out here, so we're not going to be able to get an additional Persona Ride. But we are going to use his effect here. So we're going to remove this one from the game. And we're going to put this in the bind zone. So now their defensive over triggers, crit triggers, and front triggers are turned off. And we're going to call a Misery Wing here. And we're going to Soul Blast these 2. And draw a card. Drew another Causality Dragon, which is alright. And let's call this. Alright, so right now let's say like they're at like 3 or 4 damage. Right now, you Persona Road, your Vanguard is going to be 23, 31. Your Misery Ring, you have 3, so it's going to be plus 15. So it's going to be 25, 35 by itself, 43 with boost. And this is just going to be 23, 33 if they hit a defensive trigger. So swing 31. You want to swing boosted because you're going to suck up this Rodent Collector. So you want to get the value of boosting with it first. This hand isn't looking too sexy, so we probably actually just throw this down to pop a potential Interceptor and give 5k here. So it'd be 28 by itself, 38 if they hit a trigger. So first check, Rune Collector. Second check, Misery Wing. That's okay. We're going to counterblast the old Omni Gruia. put this to soul, restand, and we're going to swing with Omni Gruia again. This is 23-1 check. And we get a Pepe. So our hand is like, if we make it to turn 5, which with a hand like this, I doubt it at 4 damage. But if we somehow survive and do make it to a turn 5, because you do minus like really powerful triggers from their hand and from their damage zone, so that's fine. But this wasn't the strongest turn 4 or turn 3 that we could possibly do with this deck. But it is what it is at the end of the day. You swing with this, you put it to soul, so it's going to be like 28. Swing with this is 43. If they have like I think if they have like 2 perfect guards, they could probably like survive this without a problem. But anyways, guys, this is a little bit longer than I initially intended it to be. I do apologize. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. Tell me what you thought about it down below. And yeah, later.